Oh! What's up, Game Loopers? The Jizz returning for another daily upload, and in this video, guys, I'm going to be giving you 3 of the best blind pick champions for each role for Season 11. Now, I don't know about you, but I hate it, right, when I have to lock in my beloved Shaco before the enemy team picks any of their champions, because I know if they have their thinking caps on, I can get Giga cucked. So to prevent this from happening, guys, to you and your champ selects, I'm going to give you a list of picks, and you might even main some of these champions at the moment who will not give the enemy team a massive advantage out of champ select. Now, as you're telling me in the comments which Pro Guards ad you like the most, remember to hit that sub button if you haven't already and the notification bell as well, and make sure to head on over to the GameWeave website. Other sites, I know they just recycle their YouTube content and pretend it's original and all that. Well, we don't, guys. We upload up to 20 exclusive Challenger tier videos every week that are for sure going to help you improve and achieve your Season 11 goals. Links as always in the description and comment section. Alright, so let's get into it, guys, and we're going to start by talking about the top lane and the 3 best blind pick champions I think you have to start playing if you don't want to get cucked in champ select. So the first one we're going to talk about is Shen. And the reason Shen is so good, guys, as a blind pick, and it's the same for really all of these champions, is that he has no real hard counters. Yes, okay, against ranged top laners he can cop it a little bit, but that's the same for any melee champion, but he has enough tankiness, right, to withstand all of that damage and still be useful in a game because of his ultimate. He also has great setup as well, right, so if your jungler is ganking you or any champion on your team, you have your taunt to set up that play, and it doesn't matter if you're against a ranged champion, melee champion, any champion in the game, you can set up kills really easily. Now, another reason why Shen is great in the top lane is because top laners who are kind of popular like Jax, Tryndamere, Aurelia, these auto attackers, well, Shen, because of his W, does really well into these champions because of his W, right? You're going to block that auto attack damage. So when the Tryndamere jumps onto you, you just press W and you nullify him completely. Generally as well, guys, in that laning phase, which is what we really care about, right? Shen is actually one of the strongest laners in the game, and lots of people just think he's an R-bot. Well, he kind of is, but in the laning phase, guys, Shen is actually really strong and scary to go up against, especially when you hit level 3 and you have all your basic abilities ready. It's very hard because of your W mainly and your passive shield for enemy champions to actually outtrade you. Your taunt as well can also be used defensively, not just offensively, to set up ganks and plays. So Shen, guys, is the first of 3 top laners I'm going to give you to blind pick. Now the next pick, guys, I want to give you for the top lane to consider picking blind is Mordekaiser. And this AP bruiser, the reason I've recommended an AP champion here, guys, because sometimes, guys, if not most of the time actually, because lots of people like playing Yone and Yasuo in lower elos, you are going to be the only AP champion on your team. And if you do pick an AD champ, you know, I'm not saying every game is decided by champ select, but it is a disadvantage if you don't have a bit of AP in there. So when your teammates are hovering over their AD champions, pick Mordekaiser. He is the best AP blind pick champion in the top lane. Reason being, like Shen, he doesn't really have any major counters, and what's also great is that he's actually pretty good at the moment, especially with the Riftmaker change, and because he has a shield and good 1v1 damage, he's actually hard to duel. On top of that, guys, he's also really annoying to gank, especially level 6 onwards, because he can just ult the jungler or the enemy top laner, and you have to stand there waiting for 5 seconds for him to come out of it. Now, you can get in trouble, guys, on Mordekaiser if you're just using your E for the fun of it. So save your E until that enemy bruiser jumps onto you, so you hold onto your engage or disengage if you have to, and try not to go too aggressive too early on, because this is when you are weakest. You want to be hitting level 6 as safely as possible, getting to your Riftmaker spike, and then it's time to go ham. Now, the last top laner, guys, I'm going to recommend to you is probably the easiest to play out of these 3, even though Mordekaiser is kind of easy. This is Wukong, who is the most forgiving top laner, even champion in the game. Like, anyone can play it. And what makes Wukong such a great blind pick, guys, is yes, he doesn't really have any hard counters, but in the laning phase, he has one of the strongest lanes in the game. His passive makes him extremely tanky early on, especially against AD champions who you're going to come up against most of the time. His W gives him the disengage and also engage to win those 1v1s. His E is a dash, gives you attack speed so you can stack Conqueror quicker as well, and you get 2 ultimates. So its whole kit, whether you're against a melee champion or a ranged champion, it's very hard not to do well. And to boot, Wukong this season, guys, has had one of the highest win rates in the top lane and continues to have it. So if you want to win lane and game, guys, Wukong is definitely the AD bruiser blind pick you want to go for. Now we're going to head to the mid lane here, guys, and talk about the 3 mid laners you have to pick. And I've got 2 AP champions here and 1 AD champion. Now let's start with the AD champion. This one might surprise some of you, but when you pick Yone or Yasuo or Zed or Talon or Qiyana, guys, there are hard counters too. So that's why I'm not going to mention any of them. But the AD champion I am going to mention is Pantheon. And yes, okay, against champions like Vel'Koz and Lux and Xerath, they might might be hard to get on because they're going to be playing at range. Well, probably not in silver and below, but yes. But as Pantheon, guys, even if you can't jump onto the enemy mid laner, they're going to be playing so passive that you're going to get priority in the early laning phase, and you can roam wherever you want. Even when you hit level 6 as well, you can ult from out of base after you recall. You can ult from the mid lane to other lanes. You just have so much pressure, not just in your lane, but across the map as well. And those champions I mentioned, those assassins, so Qiyana, Zed, Talon, Yasuo, Yone, Akali, Katarina, Pantheon destroys them, like the hardest counter there is. And when you hover him in champ select and then lock him in, most people might even think you're going top lane as well, so they'll actually counter pick themselves. So Pantheon is the AD champion I'm going to give you guys in the mid lane. Now the next two mages, guys, the first is Ahri, who is honestly probably the most well-rounded champion on this list for her role, because you have wave clear, you have sustain, you have peel, you have engage, you have setup, you have mobility. Like, what do you not have? You might not have the damage of a LeBlanc these days or an Annie, but you're incredibly hard to kill and actually move out of the mid lane, so you're always going to be there, you're always going to have a presence there, and you don't really have any hard counters. And against assassins like Zed, Talon, even Fizz, your charm works wonders, because when they jump onto you, you're guaranteed to land it. Now yes, like Pantheon against champions like Vel'Koz, Lux, Seraph, you can struggle because they do outrange you and outpoke you, but when you hit level 6, you have a lot of threat against them, and you're a better roamer, and if you do go Everfrost these days, you can ult into them, Everfrost, land your charm, and set it up for your teammates. So Ahri is the first mage, guys, I want to give you, and the second is Galio. So if you want to counter, guys, to all those AD assassins or AP assassins even, which will be even better for Galio, Galio is the pick. And even though Yasuo and Yone can be a bit annoying against Galio, guys, the reason Galio is so good is because you actually outpush them. So with your Q and your passive, you can shove the wave, and you don't allow them to roam around the map and influence the map like they often do. Now your incredible base stats and your innate tankiness make you a real force in the mid lane and that immovable object that lots of teams need. And most of the time, guys, your teammates are going to pick champions with carry potential, right? So if they pick Camille in the top lane, if they pick Shadow Assassin Kayn in the jungle, your utility is Galio, your knockup, your taunt, your ultimate come in really handy, and there's never going to be a game where you're not going to be impactful. So this is why Galio is a great blind pick in the mid lane. Now we're going to head to the bot lane now, guys, and talk about marksmen, so the 3 best blind pick ADCs. And if you want a more in-depth advanced guide, guys, on who to pick, champion pools, let me know in the comments. Very easy to make that video. And yes, these 3 ADCs, guys, well, they don't really have any hard counters, and at the moment they're actually really good as well. So the first one I want to give you is Tristana, and one of the best things about Tristana when you pick her in champ select is that some people might think you're playing mid Tristana as well, so a bit of flex action going on. But in the bot lane, guys, the reason Tristana is so strong is because of your one-shot potential and the fact that ADCs at the moment and most champions in the game are not going to be building any resistance. So when you jump in with your Halo Blades, with your Q steroid, with your E, your explosive charge, and then your Buster Shot as well, you are going to one-shot people. And before the Shurelya's battle song changes a few patches ago, yes, with Rell, with Thresh, with Alistar, yes, Tristana was optimal because of her engage and her one-shot potential, right? The synergy was insane. But even with Lulu being strong because of Shurelya's, even with Janna, even with Karma being picked now, Tristana still works great. Now in the early laning phase, yes, your short range can be a bit of a cuck and it might be hard to get priority, but still, once you get to level 2, level 3, you are very, very scary to play against, and once you scale into a game and get that range, it's very hard to get onto you, and not to mention that you have your rocket jump and your Buster Shot to act as defensive tools as well to keep you alive. So Tristana, guys, the first AD carry blind pick. Now the next ADC, guys, I want to give you is Kai'Sa, and the reason I put Kai'Sa in here is because even if you're behind in the laning phase, you can still carry because your damage potential and just your champion identity, you know, being the only AD carry assassin in the game, is what's really strong at the moment in this meta. In addition, guys, in that laning phase, you pretty much have everything you want when you play Kai'Sa, right? You have wave clear with your Q and isolation damage as well. You have your W for a bit of harass and burst damage when you flash in and you try to combo someone. You also have your E, which you can use to engage and disengage fights, which also gives you attack speed, which is great, of course. And then your ultimate, which you can use from pretty far away to jump into fights where your teammates are, so you can blow enemy champions up, and it's really good for 1v1ing as well when you need to dodge important skill shots. So Kai'Sa might not have the oomph that Tristana does, but definitely has the same, if not more, carry potential. Now the last AD carry I want to give you guys is Jinx, who, yeah, okay, she got nerfed this patch, but still, a little bit less base armor isn't going to make or break this champion, because guys, as Jinx, even in the early laning phase, you have a great chance of scaling, even in a solo queue environment where people don't care about AD carries, because of your range, because of your rockets pressure, and because now with Lulu being strong, with Janna being strong as well, Jinx becomes even stronger because movement speed speed because attack speed, these stats are so important on it, and you're getting more of that now, especially when your support gets that Shurelya's Battle Soul mythic spike, and coupled with your own Kraken Slayer mythic spike, Jinx is really strong right now. Your Rocket's range allows you to put the pressure on short range AD carries like Vayne for instance, and also lets you compete with the high range AD carries like Caitlyn for example. Now yes, if you're against a Tristana you can get blown up, but it's quite simple guys, just stay at range, and also you have your E as well to stop any engage onto you, so Jinx is the last ADC I'm going to recommend for you guys to blind pick. Now we're going to head to the jungle now guys, and the 3 jungle champions I want to give you for blind picking, well these are all full clearers, my god who would have guessed. And the first one I'm going to give you is Morgana, who is the only AP champion I'm giving you here. Now the reason I'm giving you Morgana as a jungle here guys is again, in case your teammates are hovering AD champion. So if you pick an AP champion, it's going to round out your composition a bit more. Now Morgana guys, yes, is the best full clearer and maybe even jungler in the game right now. Now yes, she might be banned a lot, but in terms of blind picking, there are very few champions that counter her, if any. Her Black Shield is incredible, not just for the 1v1, but also for team fighting as well, keeping your carries alive. But one thing I don't want you to do guys in team fights is throwing Qs out at max range. Try to get in there with your ultimate, then you can pop your Zhonya's as well if you're really in the fray, and then use your Q off your ultimate route, okay? That's going to guarantee that Dark Binding to land. Way too many Morganas, especially in lower levels of play. Just throw that Qs out hoping it to land. Use your R guys to secure that Q. So Morgana as one of the best blind picks coming in. Now next up guys, I want to talk about a champion who some people, well, are still playing as an assassin in the jungle. I want you guys to stop playing Nocturne as an assassin guys, because as a bruiser with Stridebreaker, Stari's Gauge, and even a Guardian's Angel in there as well, Nocturne is super strong. And this is really cool for Nocturne because Nocturne, you know, typically struggles against champions like Kha'Zix, maybe even Rengar, who are just better at assassinating. Well, with your bruiser setup, you can actually beat these champions in the 1v1, and you still have enough damage to kind of act like an assassin. In this meta as well, full clearing to your level 6 and just clearing jungle camps is easier, and there are very few champions that actually counter you. If you're against a Rammus, for example, who is, built to destroy AD champions, well, he doesn't clear as quick as you, so you're always going to have that camp and XP lead on him, and when you get to level 6, like I said with Pantheon, you can then start to dominate the map. But if you're not keen on picking Nocturne, guys, if you want a bit more tankiness in your team, then it's time to pick Udyr. And despite being nerfed so much this season, guys, and his items as well, Udyr and Turbo Chemtank are still a strong combination. Like Morgana and like Nocturne, you have one of the best full clears in the game, and you also have incredible gank potential with Chemtank as well. You can solo objectives as well as anyone in the game, and you're very hard to kill. Now, these champions, guys, I just mentioned, so Morgana, Nocturne, Udyr, all really have one big counter, and that is Olaf, who obviously negates any CC in the game, so Nocturne Sphere, Morgana's Dark Binding and Soul Shackles, Udyr's Bear Stance. So if you are blind picking any of these junglers, guys, I would recommend banning Olaf. Now, last up, guys, we have the 3 supports I'm going to recommend for blind picking this season. And if you enjoy these types of videos, again, remember to leave a like on the video. And it is the Jizz's last friendly reminder, guys, to remind you of the Game Week website. Champion courses, champion guides, like if you want to master your role, master your champion, we have it all. So join thousands of your fellow summoners who are frothing the content, links down below. So the 3 supports I want to give you guys, the first one is a champion, bit like Udyr, who's been nerfed this season a couple of times, and this is Thresh. And even if he gets nerfed more this season, guys, the reason Thresh is in it is because he gives you pretty much everything you want in a support. He has engage, he has disengage, he even has a shield if you think about it. He has everything. His hook makes him a scary champion at level 1, and his flay as well if you start your play in lane. He's very good at roaming as well if you want to go with mobility boots, offers a lot in skirmishes, in those early game skirmishes that is, and in team fights as well later in a game because of his lantern. So when your teammate's in trouble, especially your AD carry, you can land them out. So at all points in a game, guys, Thresh is going to have some agency in your game. Now similar to Thresh, guys, well this champion can get countered in the bot lane, and this is Bard, so if you're playing against a Rakan or a spellcaster who actually outranges you like Janna, Lulu, Nami, it is a bit of an effort, and these also out-sustain you as well. But the real reason Bard is here, guys, is because he is always going to have an impact on a game. His ultimate is the biggest carry ability of any support in the game. Like if you land one, it can be game-changing. Now it can be game-losing as well, so make sure you don't cuck your teammates with it. But when you hit level 6, guys, even if you're losing lane or having a hard time in the bot lane, you can have a real impact. You're also one of the best roamers in the game because of your portal, and your Q as well can set up kills in the early laning phase and throughout a game too. But to make sure you don't die in that bot lane, guys, just a quick tip, hold the walls. No matter what side of the map you are on, if you're blue team or red team, in the bot lane, hold a wall so you can then quickly portal over it if an Alistar engages onto you or if you get in some sort of pickle. Now the last support, the last champion I'm going to give you guys in champ selected blind pick, and this last support is Lulu, who not only is really good at the moment and probably the best support in the game, but she just brings so much to the table for her AD carry, more than any other support. Her W gives them attack speed and movement speed, 2 huge stats at the moment for champions like Kog'Maw and Jinx, who are both strong. Her W can also be used to polymorph enemy champions. So any hard engagers or assassins who are, really popular, of course, you can just take away that threat completely with the press of a key. And you also have your E guys, which is going to shield that friendly champion and keep them alive for longer, which also procs Shurelya's, as does your Wild Growth, which can be used to not only maximize and engage, but also stop the enemy team from engaging and diving onto your carries. And in this meta, guys, where champions have so much damage and so much engage and, just one-shot new potential concentrated damage, Lulu is the best repel artist. Well, apart from Elise, that is. So yes, definitely consider picking these blind picks in your games, guys. Let me know in the comments if you have a better blind pick in your role, if you think there's a champion that's better than the ones I mentioned. And again, if you want a more detailed, advanced champ select little tutorial, let me know in the comments. This has been the Jizz, and until tomorrow's upload, peace.